Okay. Ladies and gents, welcome back to another episode of the Fairway Performance Podcast. Today, I'm joined by the man himself, Mr. Martin Chuck. Martin, did you want to quickly say hi to the audience and give them an idea of who you are, where you're from, what you do, and what you're all about?
Sean, good to be with you. I'm a humble golf coach, teach a silly game in the United States, originally from Canada. I played for a cup of coffee professionally after college. That's what I do, man. Teach golf and have a damn good time doing it. Good to be with
Yeah.
you.
Well, you have a great social media presence, and I've been targeted with your ads a few times, as I'm sure a lot of my listeners have been targeted with some of your ads. What are the things that you spend your days doing at the moment? Like, where do you spend most of your time? Who do you work with, and who are the type of clients that you work with?
So my primary business is a golf school for adults. So my client right now pretty much is somebody who's probably 40 years old to 80 years old, and they come home to a kind of a destination golf vacation camp, whether it's 2 days or 3 days. My coaching team and I meet them there. We have a flippin' great time, and typically these golfers are people that are trying to break 80, break 90, maybe even break 100. So there's a lot of just fundamental getting good hands on a golf club, a lot of walking routine, understanding how to hit basic shots and develop their game with a reasonable face and path. So, I don't honestly work with tour players anymore. It's not my business model. It's if somebody asks me to take a look at a golf swing, sometimes coaches will send me a video and they'll say, "Hey, what do you think of this? This is what I'm working on." And I'll look at a tour player swing and just say, "Yeah, I think you're doing a great job." Or, because oftentimes like a tour player will get bored with something and their coach isn't giving anything new, and then they'll feel like they want to hear something new. And then sometimes they'll bounce it off another coach just to say, "What do you see, man?" And I'll say, "I see what you see." I mean, the guy doesn't need anything new. He needs to go chip and putt a little bit more, So
Yeah.
my business model now is entertaining older folks and having a damn good time doing it. And then training aid business, because my wife and I have the Tour Striker brand of training aids. And yeah, just have fun coaching golf and being with people.
Yeah, and there's also, like, I get asked that question a fair bit as well, like, why don't you work with more tour players? And I just work with one tour player, purely because I don't have to travel for him. I can do it remotely. He enjoys working in that capacity, and, we don't see each other often, like we don't have to. Have a bit of family and everything else, so it's good for that.
Right.
And also, like, if we looked at the average golfer, there's so many more millions of those people who need a hand as opposed to the professionals who, might make a 1% improvement. While it's cool to, put the feather in your cap and say you've done it, there's so many other golfers out there that can use the
Yeah.
help from people like us. So working with, obviously, this 40 to 80-year-old golfer, what are some of the main, like, misconceptions or misnomers or things that they come to you in your camps and that you see in their swings, like, over and over and over again? Like, what are some of the things that they understand about the swing that's just not that?
So much of it is how they get started. If they have a caring coach right off the get-go that puts their hands on nicely, and you'll notice I have a sling on. I had rotator cuff surgery, for those of you that don't see my right hand too often. You'll notice when I'm working with adult golfers, whatever bit of information they get fed first, say they're with a friend and their friend says, "Oh, you got to keep your head down and you got to interlock your grip." Those two things might be their totems that they develop their game on. And so if they miss the right information as an adult, they immediately go down the rabbit hole incorrectly. And then as a coach, I look at that and I call these golfers kind of like lifelong beginners, because they never get any good because they have the wrong anchor. And the wrong anchor, they don't really understand the rhythm of how to move a golf club, how to lever a golf club in your hands, how this overtaking and weight can swing around them peacefully with some speed. Everybody's capable of doing it, Sean. The problem is when you get the wrong anchor early, especially as an adult who, seems to have a bit of a thoughtful brain, they really don't. They go down the wrong rabbit hole and they're stuck in poor golf forever. And so having the discussion with them about, hey, let's break away some of these misaligned thoughts so you can actually, swing the golf club with a rhythm. Understand it's not about keeping your head down. It's about leveraging a golf club and letting the golf club flee out and get heavy at the bottom. And the bottom isn't the ball. The bottom's a little ahead of the ball. And just little things that they don't even think about, or no coach is a pain in the ass enough to really explain to them for them to start to flourish and let that bridge between conscious and subconscious kind of work together. So, I mean, I know that's kind of a fancy way of explaining how we try to take somebody stuck in their belief modality and then change it into something that frees them up and lets them play better golf.
Yeah. Nah, Like it was interesting that you mentioned there, like everyone's capable of doing it. Often, like with the route and the way that I work with clients is I see their physical limitations are stopping them or hindering them from doing things. So doing the TPI screening, we can see if they can't rotate their pelvis or tilt their pelvis, like they're just going to early extend. It's the way that their body creates power, and it's just the way that it's naturally going to do it, unless they can free up the hips and move them better. And then obviously have someone like yourself teach them like how the hips should be moving. Now they can actually do that. So with that in mind, like what sort of physical limitations do you see in a lot of folk that you work with are hindering them from a better or more consistent swing?
It's years ago, I used to run everybody through a screen, and I don't anymore, just for the fact that, it's pretty interesting. Like you can kind of shake somebody's hand and get a sense of, how they feel, what their strength is like. Looking at them in a moment, like we'll naturally ask somebody, like as a joke, okay, tell me if you have any fake parts. So right away, okay, a knee, a shoulder, you look at a golf swing and you'll see a trail arm go back and you'll see it go back in a way that doesn't externally rotate. And then I'll say to them, shoulder injury, and they'll go, yep. And, right away you can go, all right. So through a clue, you can say, well, I can't set you up in a traditional train track alignment. If you want to have a golf club that travels into the golf ball, down and out into a golf ball, because you're physically not capable of a trail arm going into a position to allow that. And so sometimes you're just going, okay, here's the human. They played sports as a kid. They're aging. They're 50, they're 60, they're 70. The joint doesn't have full mobility. And, my coaching team and I have been doing this a long time. So, running through somebody through a screen's great. We don't anymore, but we kind of do mentally and through a few questions. And then pretty quickly you can see, okay, hip mobility, as you say, is huge. Trail shoulder mobility is huge. Wrist mobility is huge. And, through a couple questions, we'll kind of distill out if we have to kind of what I call deplane the golfer, meaning, they can't stand there like, some standard tour player and aim down train tracks. They've got to aim into their target line to let their golf club travel from the inside out. So, that's something that through experience, and I guess, rolling everybody through a screen would be great. But when we do these 15-person camps, to do that with every student would be would be tough on the timing. So what we typically do is, we'll get them on a TrackMan. We'll get them on, what's their face path relationship on a couple of drivers. We'll get a face on down the line swing. We'll look at the data, and the data will, you'll look at this and you'll say, okay, here's a steep over the top person. Here's a person that doesn't relocate for whatever reason. Here's a person that doesn't really have a rotation ability in their backswing. So we'll look at things. We'll try to increase range of motion if we can, if they're healthy enough to. And if they can't, then we'll, do different things to aim them into their target line to get the golf club to deliver better without worrying about how pretty it looks. So to your point about screening, an older golfer typically is pretty banged up. Like I'm an older golfer, I'm 56. We're going to see how this shoulder does in the next, few months of rehab. That's my only concern with this surgery I just had is that, it had mobility, it had too much mobility, and that's why I had to go have surgery so that I could reconnect a couple of the tendons in the back, then for spinatus, supraspinatus, so I didn't create too much arthritis. And luckily there wasn't any in there when the guy did the surgery on Monday. But now as a coach looking at this as my own test subject, I'm curious how I will be in 3-4 months time going through my PT to see if I can have the necessary amount of external rotation to get the golf club in a functional spot for me to aim kind of on train tracks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I actually love what you're saying there because it ties in really well to what I do. Like people can either choose to go down the route of using what they currently have in terms of their mobility and learn to work around it, which is essentially what you're teaching them. So teaching them how to
Yeah.
set up, deliver the club in a consistent path and pattern so they know what their shot shape is going to be all the time, which if someone's on a camp with you, that's the result that they want, right? Like they don't want to come there and then be told that they need to like call Sean and do like a 6-month program to like build their hips better mobility or something. Like they're just going to like say, Martin, like you've given me a shit product here. Like I want to go home. They want to get there and learn the principles and the fundamentals of how to actually deliver it with the body they have. And then if they want to go away and work on their body and, fix some of the things that are underlying, then as they fix it, then they'll have to relearn obviously parts of their swing to then deliver it. But they've got that knowledge, there to do that. So I love that that's what you guys do because it's the product that you're offering. It's how you work with people. And there's, to be honest, like doing the screening is probably just overkill in a situation like that. Or in my opinion, it would be anyway.
You know,
Teaching people to utilize
but
it.
to your point, I don't want to cut you off there, but to your point, I always try to I will help somebody hit it better by however we have to do it. But I'm also not afraid to say, like on day 2 of my golf camp, we have a physical fitness guy come in, do a stretching routine. He's wonderful coach. Mark Williamson's his name. He's known as the golf yogi. And so I always look people in the eye if they're my age and older and say, hey buddy, you got to take care of your body. And
Mm,
so I always suggest, I say, you've got a couple of bucks. People who come to see me, Sean, typically have time and money. And if they're not
yeah.
physically capable, I'll remind them that they only have one body and that it's their job to take care of themselves. And I say, I invest in myself every week with a trainer and a PT every single week. Okay. And I'm in good shape. Now, I want you to do the same. You've got the money. Maybe you're not great at going to the gym by yourself and knowing what the hell to do. I'm not. But I love going to the gym and I love my trainer. My trainer kicks my ass and it's needed. And if you're in the position where you can afford a guy like you and you can do a training program, I'm all about it, man. Because I
Yeah.
love seeing my students come back to me a year or two later, shed 30 pounds, and their mobility is upgraded. And I'm like, wow, okay, now we can do some more stuff with you. It's awesome.
Yeah, I like to say in that situation, like the person's just become a more moldable piece of clay. Like they're more supple. You can they
Yeah.
contort them into different and better positions, and just be more consistent in their swing because they can get to, more of a train track position that you're talking about before. Yeah, and in no way was I saying that you're not recommending people go and do that. It's just like
No, no.
people want a result when they come to a camp, right? So you're teaching them how to work around what they have, while also saying like I'm not bullshitting you. Like this is actually the route to get better. Is like the fitness side, and then come back to me with the 30 pounds less and the better body, and then yeah, obviously we can work with that. So the next thing, so I'd love to get your idea of, because you obviously said just there that you work with a fitness coach and a trainer. Like, what's your idea of a good program for golfers? And when you send people away, like, what's something that they can look for in a coach or a trainer? Because obviously you've got some experience with that, and you work with one yourself. What's something they can look for, and what
Yeah.
questions should they be asking as well?
So I would say, as guys get older, muscle mass is a big deal. So I'm always a fan of some lifting as guys get older, but obviously it's got to be lifting with a watchful eye so you don't do it incorrectly. To me, as guys get older, glute mass, leg mass, a lot of, resistant training, AR, any rotational stuff. My guy gets me on all kinds of, foot angles and things with rubber bands. So everything I'm doing is like muscular confusion with balance. So the guy's got me like in wobbly things with rubber bands and I get like pretty quickly, I'm pretty exhausted. And then we go on to the next little thing. So I'm not pushing a ton of weight, building great like bikini muscles. You know what I mean? And show off at the beach. But I'm trying at my age maintain my glutes, my legs, my core strength, shoulders naturally. This one I'm really excited actually to get this fixed up to get really strong again because that's a goal of mine. And I want to be the best version of myself, in 6, 8 months, meaning I want to be, fast again and I want to be in shape and that's goals for me. So my guy is more about supportive muscles, not building big, biceps and stuff. It's just about being, ready to perform as an athlete. That's my guy. I used to have a great stretch therapist, but she moved to Texas. I'm also a big believer in stretch therapy, whether it's yoga or, you go to a stretch professional and puts you on the table and, works in your mobility as well. I think, you're only here in this one body this one time, man, and if you can, take care of it as best you can. My clients are typically people that have the extra money for that kind of thing, and it's like a tour player. Look at those guys. When they're on the road, they've got their whole conditioning team there on the PGA Tour now, and they got their massage therapists and their stretch therapists, their trainer at their beck and call, whether some guys use it, some guys don't. Most do now. And, 40 years ago, nobody did. So everybody's into being strong and pliable so I'm a big believer in it. And then obviously there's a technique component too that people need to have, but I think the technique component's really not that hard. I'm paid to
Mm,
do that, but I think technique's pretty damn easy. I think it's more of a routine and a rhythm and a mindset as a coach that I try to teach people that there's no consistency in golf. Don't expect it. No, it's a process, and you got to be good at the process, and you got to be like, if you're really good at the process, your outcomes are going to be better. And you're not going to be too worked up about your day one way or the other, whether you play good or play bad. You just work the process, and if things go your way, you're going to have a great round. And if things don't, yeah, there's opportunities to reflect back and go, okay, why did I not make that putt? Why was that chip 10 feet too long, or why did I chunk that? I mean, you can look at it, but if you're process minded, everything's in a flow state of being positive because it's got an outcome. Whereas if you're just like shot to shot, terrified, there's no process to that, and then you're going to be exhausted and make mistakes all the time. So I'm rambling on a little bit, but to me, technique in golf is not that hard. To me, like the process of just shot to shot and staying in that, I hate to say it, one shot at a time kind of idea with a good plan is how you're going to play your best golf. And in your case, if you have a supportive, functional body, now you could be a fairly good golfer.
Yeah, if you're worried about the physical breaking down, it's hard to be mentally present in all the shots because you're so scared of what could physically happen.
Yeah.
But if you go into something and you know you've got
Right.
the fitness, the strength, the mobility to not get injured, and your body can exceed the demands of what the golf swing requires, and you're not going to get injured playing your sport, then obviously the mental aspect, you can just be thinking about the shot making, decision making, all that type of stuff. It frees you up a lot mentally, to not be stressed about the body. That's one of the things I preach a lot to people is physically first, you need to be in better shape than what golf demands of you, and then you'll be freed up mentally to make better choices and better swing thoughts on the course. It's just how it works. And it's funny you mention, swing coaching is easy. Like one of the first things, so the guy that I work with is on the Live Tour, and so don't hold that against me if anyone hates Live and PGA or whatever. Like it's, they're
No.
professional golfers. But I was literally standing there and I just met Dave Phillips, who's one of the TPI main guys, and I was chatting with him and having
Yeah,
a
he's
good
a great guy.
conversation. And and he's got some Australian roots as well, so that's why we were having a conversation because he heard me say, "Hey, going mate," and just like loved it and just started talking about Australia. But when we were talking, all the players had just finished, and we're standing up sort of in the clubhouse where all the players come through, and John Rahm's caddy comes over to him, and the first person that John Rahm's caddy talks to is Dave Phillips, who's like the fitness and swing coach guy. Like as soon as they walk off the course, he's like, John's doing this today, he's doing that, and soon I'm just like pushed off to the side and Dave's having this like full in-depth discussion. But when you say that players like lean on these people, like they really do, like they fly them to events, they have them there in their corner all the time. And if you're trying to get the most from your body as an amateur and you're not doing these things and expecting to go out and achieve results which are exceeding what you currently have, and you don't have the swing coach or don't have the fitness coach, like you're probably not going to get there if you're just guessing or just piecing things together off the internet, because there's only so far that information is going to take you. So the next thing, obviously, the guys and girls that you have, or the ladies and gents that you have come to your camps, these 50s, plus, they have some time to train, they have time to play, they have the money to invest to obviously go and see you. Where do you tell them to split their time in terms of a practice routine, in terms of like technical skill with the swing, in terms of chipping and putting and on course, and then also fitness
Right,
and
right.
mobility?
So
Yeah,
we have our
where do you go
motto.
with
We
that?
call Yeah. So I call it the three T's. Okay. So three prongs: technique, okay, trickery, and then a test. So the technique, I would say, so if somebody's got 45 minutes to actually be on a driving range, 15 minutes of technique, meaning I've given them one or two or three critical drills. And in my case, I'm a believer in external feedback, so I've got training aids. They might use a smart ball between their forearms for 5 minutes. They might be training a wrist condition thing for 5 minutes. They might be doing something that is another technique drill for 5 minutes. And that's it, 15 minutes. All you get. Set your clock, don't overdo it, treasure that 15 minutes of technique, and don't worry about the outcome. So I always try to make it a time-based thing so they know there's a start and an end, and it's limited, and they got to focus on time. And then trickery. And what I say is, since my clients are older, they're not playful anymore. They're not, when we were kids, we goof off. We would say, hey, watch this. Hey, look at this. Watch me. As adults, it's almost like their ego doesn't want to ever make a mistake. And so, I say, okay, listen, kids got really good by being in a pack of wild kids, and some, alpha kid who may be 2 years older and you looked up to and they were better, and then you tried to mimic and maybe hit it harder to be as good as a 15-year-old when you were 12 or whatever. And so I'd say, okay, in the next 15-minute session, you have to curve or hit a goofy shot for 15 minutes. How high can you hit a 7 iron? How low can you hit a 7 iron? Can you curve it both ways? And then do the same thing with a driver, because I'm a believer if you can kind of find the outside of the shots, you find the inside of the shots. So that's a 15-minute being silly. And then finally, in the last 15 minutes is, I always say, I'm not leaving until. I'm not leaving until I hit 5 shots on this green, or I'm not leaving until I hit 5 drives that are between that post and that flag, and hopefully that doesn't take longer than 15 minutes, or they picked a task too difficult for their skill. So that to me is their range time. And I'll say, I want you to dedicate equal amounts to chipping and putting, because let's be honest, there's so much like low hanging fruit for anybody to just be a better chipper, pitcher, and putter of a golf ball. And so we spend a ton of time at my golf school hitting little chip shots, hitting pitch shots. And then I probably need to spend more time putting, honestly. But, the drug of golf is a solid golf shot. So I tend to focus more on, centered strikes and a little bit of control of the golf ball than I do on rolling the ball on the green, even though, if I can get their speed control down much, much better. And I teach them how to do that. And I leave them with videos and drills to do. Then they're going to 3-putt less, and then they're going to be closer to the hole, and they convert more of their 2 putts. So that's my practice. That's how I explain practice to people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you can also, like, you can do that with each aspect of it as well. Like the 3 Ts, you could do it with driving. You could be like, how far can I shape this shot left to right? And, like, try and hit the biggest cut you can. So overemphasize something. So you're trying to do a particular thing. Then you can do the 2 post drill. You can do that with your long irons, like try and hit some low, or try and hit some, not going over 20 feet high or whatever, or aiming for particular targets in between things. And you can also do that with chipping and putting. So I do one of my favorite drills for chipping and putting, and I heard this from John Rahm actually a while ago, but he was mentioning that when he was a kid, they would like go around and they would like put each other's balls on the chipping and putting green in certain spots and like have chipping competitions, and they would like dig it into the rough and they'd put it in like, little bits of grass and make it really hard for each other to hit out. But they just got used to hitting those all the time, like those really bad lies where it's like sitting down and they can't get the club underneath the ball, so they've got to like middle the ball off the edge of the green, and all these different things that come up during a round. But we don't practice that. We just drop 3 balls down on the edge of the green that are, on a perfect tight lie, and we just practice like either Texas wedging or, hitting a little bump and run with a pitching wedge or a 9-iron, So applying that to all 3 areas, like pitching, putting, and then obviously long irons or irons, and then driving. I love the 3 Ts there. So what were they again? Just so everyone remembers. Technique.
So it's technique, trickery,
Yep.
and a test.
Cool. Yeah, just for everyone else, just to remember that. Yeah, just in case anyone didn't have that noted down as they were listening. Awesome. And then with the camps, when, like obviously you're going to have some people who like accelerate much faster than others with their learning. Like, you tell them something, they listen, they listen twice as hard as they speak back, and they pick it up and they just go for it. How do you like in those groups manage to teach like 15 different people and have different things for each and every single person there? Like how does that work? I'm always interested as a coach, because that's one of the hardest things, right?
Well, I got to give a lot of props to my assistant coaches. Are fantastic. So I always start the camp off and I say, put your hand up if you suck at golf. Like, who here sucks at golf? And I put my hand up first. And I go, everybody sucks at golf. Well, golf will embarrass everybody. And then I also say I'm incapable of being embarrassed, because I truly am incapable of being embarrassed because of golf. Because I've played tournament golf and I've hit the worst shots at the worst times with people watching, and I'm still here. It's okay. And so I tell people, I say, half of you are going to get better and half of you won't. So you decide which one of the half you're going to be. I go, you're going to fight us. We're going to make suggestions. You're going to say, oh, that feels weird. That's different. But what I've heard, I say, hey, totally up to you. I'm going to take my knowledge and experience over the many, many years I've been doing this with my many mentors and my vast, successes and failures as a coach, and I'm going to apply it to you at the moment with what I see. And then I say to people, I go, I don't expect you to have a good outcome right now. You do. You expect to hit every shot purely flush, and there's going to be fairies and sunshine and everything's going to be fantastic. I don't expect that. And if you expect that right now, you're going to fail miserably. What I expect from you is the process, you asking questions, my team and I answering questions, And then I want you to have a new understanding of things. So, we will look at people, and like I said, like earlier in the podcast, I said to you, like, people are anchored in their belief, and and the belief might be, I've got to stay still over the ball and keep my head down. Okay, that might be an anchor thought they don't even think about anymore. And I'll look at somebody's swing and I'll say, hey, congratulations. You win the head down competition. You're the best at it. You keep your head down really long time. Way to go. You don't break 90, but you keep your head down like a champion. And then I might, for fun, show them a video of Annika Sorenstam or Dustin Johnson hitting a wedge shot, or I'll say, hey, or David Duval. I've got a great video of David Duval and Joe Durant in the same frame hitting shots on the range, and both of them are like this at impact. And I'll say, and not that I coach that, but I'll say, here's two of the best strikers of their era, and they're not even remotely looking down when they touch the golf ball. And these, 90 shooters will be looking at me quizzically, and I'll say, so is that a fundamental? And they'll be like, well, every time I miss, I lift my head up. And I go, no. And I'll do demonstrations where I, top the ball on purpose, and I'll lower my head. And I'll ask the students when I do my demos, I'll say, okay, watch this and tell me if I lift my head. And I'll lower my head a couple inches or a foot even and top a ball because I separate my elbows. And I say, is it true? If this is a true fundamental, why am I able to top a golf ball and lower my head? And they'll be looking at me, and then they'll go, oh, because you separated your arms. And I'll say, exactly. And then I'll say, let's go through this on, as a good player would. I said, bodies are amazing. You can make a lot of compensations and play pretty good golf. However, if you do a few things nicely, you have less compensations. You have less struggle between conscious brain and subconscious brain. And if you can do that, you're not going to be exhausted at the end of your round and feel like you fall apart every time you get to the 13th hole. Because a good player has a million compensations to make every swing they take. A bad player has a billion compensations they make every swing they take. I only want you to have a million compensations. And they're like, what? A million compensations? I'm like, yeah, the million. Because every golf shot you take is a snowflake that is individual to itself. You've never done that before. Okay, you can call it, you can want to say you're consistent, that's fine, and I'll do a demonstration too, Sean. I'll juggle balls. I juggle 3 balls, and I'm a good juggler. And I'll say, watch me juggle these 3 balls. And they're like, and I'll invite somebody up to juggle with me. They can't juggle. I'll show them how to juggle. And they'll get 1 or 2 steps. They'll laugh about it. And I'll say, this is the attitude I want you to have when you fail with the drill I'm about to give you, because I want you to expect to fail. It's okay to fail. I'll say, you can't juggle right now. I can juggle. You can't. But here's how you juggle. Here's the step to learn how to juggle. I'm pretty good at it. But now if you look closely at how I juggle, none of these balls are exactly going in the same cascade. It's functional. You recognize it as functional. It's successful, but it's not the exact same. And a golf swing's that way. I said, and also, guess what we're going to do here? We're going to teach you some basic stuff on a flat, perfect lie. And then we're going to take you on the golf course where we're inviting hills and different angles and different things. And we're going to teach you, that you need to learn how to do one thing really, really nicely. You need to learn how to feel where the weight of the golf club is in your hands while you look at something, and know where that thing is flying around you, and how your body subconsciously contorts itself in order for you to deliver that club onto that golf ball. So, it's not a stare and hit game. It's a kind of, I'm looking at something, but I'm way more aware of what's going on physically to some degree. And then subconsciously, I'm filling in the gaps. So I try to get people out of balance, in balance, over angles, in a variety of different places to explore different feelings, so they can, come back again to the middle ground, so they can hit the damn golf ball somewhere in the face and blow up their previous misconceptions of how they're supposed to do it. And every once in a while, not everybody, Sean, I wish I could tell you I bat 1,000. I don't. But I'll tell you what I do as a coach. I give them a platform with my intent for them. Then they can choose to use it and have a two-way communication back with me. So all their experience at a golf camp is chronologically listed in Coach Now. That's the platform I use. Been using it for 13 years now. I've got 5,800 students on there. And so the person can ask me a question when they leave. Hey, here's your drills. Let me know how it goes. Here's your homework. Post it so I can review it. And I'll tell you, maybe 20% of the people actually post their homework. Wonderful. They get really good. The other 80% don't. Life, busyness, whatever. And they even might come back to a golf camp the next year. And I'll say, hey, Sean, why didn't you post videos during that year? Oh, I had a good time. I got a little bit better. I was content. I just wanted to come back to another school. Let's keep going from here. Okay. I'm not going to, yell at you for not doing your homework. But if those people that actually do their homework and send me the stuff I asked them to do, they get way better.
Yeah, there's a few things to sort of unpack there that you were saying. Obviously, if you do your homework, you're gonna get better, right? Like if you practice the thing that the coach has told you and you're not afraid to fail, like that's part of it. Like, even the best pros yesterday, like I was literally watching the live event yesterday, and Tyrrell Hatton had a ball in the rough that was like so deep. And he literally had an air swing underneath the ball in this rough, and he just like looked around. He's like, "What the freaking hell was that?" Like, like even these guys like come up against things that they haven't tried before or haven't done, that they just completely oblivious to how it's going to turn out. So we need to just be able to laugh at ourselves when those things happen, particularly in a setting like a coaching setting like you're talking about. Also, what you're talking about there in terms of delivering like a drill or something for someone to practice is essentially deliberate practice. So you don't want them to succeed 100% of the time, but you also don't want them to fail 70% of the time. You want to deliver a thing for them that they can get right probably 7 to 8 times out of 10 so they can see success, but it's also at the edge of their limit of being able to do the thing, right? So that's deliberate practice. If we think about the 3 steps for it, it's a clear stretch goal, immediate informative feedback, so whether they did it or they didn't do it, and then focused repetition. So if we do those 3 things over and over, it's how people learn to shoot free throws or 3-pointers like Steph Curry, play music, like play up to a point, fail, restart, go through it again. And it's Eric, I think it's Eric Anders, isn't it? Is the deliberate practice guy. I think he wrote the book about it. But that's essentially what you're finding with these people. You're applying like a deliberate practice principle or drill to that person with where they're at based on all of your years of experience. And it's someone just having to be comfortable with those couple of times that they're going to fail at doing it in order to get better. So I love it. It's like geeking out as a coach listening to that, like obviously seeing how it benefits many people. Because I know that you got a hard stop at the end of this, the last bit I want to jump into is what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little rapid fire questions. So, like 30-second answer for each one. I haven't obviously prepared you for this, but it'd be cool just to get your thoughts on these. So timer starts now. Ready? So what's one drill that you love to give clients that you think gives them the most bang for buck?
One drill, we call it the cornerstone drill. It's narrow, somewhat flary feet, learning how to rotate from a tiny swing, left arm parallel to the ground, left arm parallel to the ground for the right-hander, and finishing in balance on their trail foot. We call it 1-2, gum on my shoe. So 1's a backswing, 2's a strike. Their trail foot works up onto the toe so they can learn how to relocate with rhythm onto their lead foot.
Okay, awesome. 1-2, gum on my shoe. That's all you got to remember. Next thing is, what's one thing golfers should stop doing immediately?
One thing golfers should stop doing immediately, gosh, probably searching for answers on YouTube, I'm afraid. I would say do some study, find a good coach in your area that has good reviews and build a relationship and just stick with that game plan.
Awesome. My one to this is expecting results from the work that they didn't do that they know they should have done. That's one thing that I like to say.
You know what? That's brilliant.
Yeah, don't expect the results
That's a
that you're
brilliant
hoping
one.
for
Yeah, I love it.
if
You
you're
never,
not
never
doing the work.
just pretend that. Just pretend I said that.
I can't edit my croaky voice into yours. Cool. Next question. What's the favorite training aid that you use with all of your players?
You know what? I mean, as simple as it is, the ball between the forearms does a lot for a lot of people because, if people aren't mobile, the ball between the forearms tends to help people learn how to externally rotate their trail arm better. It tends to help people push away from the ground and extend more. So if you can, hit pitch shots with a inflatable ball between your forearms, pretty tough not to get a little bit better if you're not good at golf.
Okay. What's that ball called? Do you guys have that as Tour Striker? Do you have a Tour Striker version of that?
Yeah, the Tour Striker Smart Ball, it's a patented product in the United States. We've sold, thousands and thousands of them, and it's also probably the most knocked off product worldwide. You'll see tour players warming up with it around the world. So It's on a lanyard, you blow it up, you keep it in your bag, you warm up with it. Countless tour players use it religiously just to kind of have a baseline for their senses when they're warming up for their day.
Yeah, awesome. What is the most underrated skill in golf right now?
The most underrated skill, aside from just mental clarity, I would say pitching the golf ball between 20 yards and 60 yards. People suck at that. And it's something that I
20,
think physically
60.
most people could be pretty good at.
Okay. Awesome. I love that one. I'm going to add mine there just because I rewatched Ted Lasso with my wife recently, but memory like a goldfish. I think that's the most underrated skill because lots of
Yeah, that's
people
great.
let previous shots just walk into it and take their bad intentions into it. Then the
hmm
last one. What's the biggest lesson that working with tour players has taught you as a coach?
That if you can make the change their idea, then they're more likely to do it.
Isn't that just how you deal with your wife at home?
If you can, you know what, everybody, it's such a the belief system. Max Homa said something hysterical a couple years ago. He's a funny guy. He goes, "We're all just one swing away from thinking we can win the U.S. Open or have to go sell insurance."
Mm,
And so it's such a fragile environment. So,
yeah.
if you can, as a good coach, if you can compound belief, that's so much more. And I try to tell young coaches, they all want to be like technique experts. I go, technique schmechnique. If you can build up somebody's belief in themselves, you're a great coach.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. It's also if someone thinks that an idea is theirs, they're like gonna stick to it way more and be way more committed to doing that because it was their idea. They want to stray from it less as opposed to a
Right.
coach. And if you can seed that in there and then they sort of come around to it, it's gonna work well. And also, actually, have you seen that new show, Owen Wilson show, Stick on TV on Apple TV?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, the
I
epi
watched Dick.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just watched the episode last night where the kid, Santi, then gets the girl to caddy for him, and they make it sound like it was his idea to get her to caddy for him, even though Owen and her had a conversation earlier. That's coaching.
Right.
Yeah, a direct example. If anyone else has watched that
Exactly.
Stick episode, and if I've just given it away, then I apologize in advance, but you should have already caught up on that. Alrighty, mate.
There you go. It's their fault.
It is. Last thing. So obviously you've got a great Instagram following and the information that you put out there is awesome. Absolutely love your account. Where else can people
Thank
go
you.
to find you online or even just get involved in your camps or look at your camps or even Tour Striker? Let us know where to go.
Yeah. Tourstriker.com, and we actually we have a new app now. We call it Tour Striker Golf Academy Online, TSGA Online, and it's a community where I post a lot of my one-on-one stuff with campers. Like if there's a golf junkie out there and they're interested in seeing how people develop, TSGA Online is a I think a pretty cool site. Like there's a bunch of my produced videos that people seem to enjoy, but there's also a lot of raw ones where I'm just talking to a student. And sometimes they see mean Coach Marty, not just smiley Coach Marty who's doing a production value, in coaching session. It's me being a coach. And I tell people, I go, you want me to be nice to you or you want me to be honest with you?
Mm,
Because I say, I'm not your club pro. I don't have to be nice to you. You came to me to get better. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you why you suck at golf, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. And I expect the same energy I'm giving you back with me to develop your game. And let's go. So sometimes you'll see the real videos, like me coaching, you'll be like, damn, that guy's a bit of an asshole. No, I'm not. I care about you, man. I want you to get good. And this is how you're going to do it. Don't like play games with yourself. Let's start having these minor little wins, and you'll see through minor little wins you develop into a pretty damn good golfer.
And then, so yeah, obviously Tour Striker Golf Academy, Instagram, and then to learn about the camps that you run, is there a particular website or place to go
Yeah,
to see more about those?
just tour. The home base is tourstriker.com. You can find it all there. Products, coaching. If they're in Phoenix and want to come to a camp, or my summer camps, I travel around North America and Mexico. Yeah, it's a good time, man. But I do have to go see my physical therapist for my shoulder, so I got to run, my friend.
Yeah, no worries, mate. If you ever want to run a camp down in the Cayman Islands, and that's only just off Mexico, so you definitely need to hit me up and we'll get something going down here.
That'd be a lot of fun. All right, sounds good.
Awesome, mate. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Cheers.